Saving America one entrepreneur at a time. It's the Biz Wrap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs. It's Biz Wrap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Wrap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a great show lined up for you today, but if you're new to Biz Wrap Radio, we are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here helping small businesses do a better job of what they need to do, which is grow their businesses and make money. Yes, make money. I'm willing to say it. It's not a dirty word. Small businesses need to make a profit. And what are you going to do with that profit? You're going to grow your business. You're going to take care of yourself. You're going to take care of your family. You're going to take care of your employees. And you're going to take care of your community. That's what small businesses do. And yet, you know, there's such a huge contributor to the United States economy. Most people work for small businesses. As we pulled out of the recession, most of the new jobs were created by small businesses. But what happens when when the government's got a little bit of extra money? Are they helping small businesses? No, they're bailing out the fat cats on Wall Street, and they're bailing out those inefficiently run big corporations where the CEOs lay off 10,000 people left, right, and center just so they can get themselves another multi-million-dollar bonus. So we're here fighting the good fight for the small businesses of America, and we hope you enjoy the show and you find it useful. You know, one of the challenges we have in the United States is housing, and I see here in the city of Los Angeles we are trying to put a whole bunch of money into providing housing for homeless people. My office is in Long Beach, California, and they're forcing developers to allocate X number of units in every property being developed for low-income people. Clearly, housing is a challenge, and there are people around the country working on innovative solutions to how we can put up buildings in ways that are different, that are maybe more cost-effective, maybe more efficient from an energy resource perspective, and just a new way of looking at what we have perhaps done traditionally for many, many years. And with that, I'm very lucky to have on the phone with me Leslie Horn. Leslie is with 3 Squared Inc. Leslie, welcome to the program.
Wow, thank you so very much. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, your company is really interesting. I've been reading up a little bit about your company, but I want you to, can you give us kind of the 3 or 4 minute story of what your company does?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the creativity and innovation that we have in the housing industry is that we take and upcycle a 40-foot or 20-foot shipping container, and what we do is we create residential and multifamily mixed-use housing and commercial construction. And by doing that, and by being able to create a housing unit out of a container that meets and exceeds all building and safety codes, we're able to build faster, stronger, and way more energy efficient than traditional stick building. So it's an exciting time for us right now.
Well, so hang on. Let me get this straight, because you know I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I really understand exactly. You're talking about those big shipping containers. I'm here in Long Beach, California. We got the port right out here. The ships come in. They've got those huge, massive steel containers. They're full of all the goods from China. And that's what you're talking about, using those shipping containers to build something that somebody would live in?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always a big visual everybody has in mind when they hear about this. But here's the problem. There's a huge trade imbalance in the United States. So on average, we receive about 23,000 shipping containers that arrive plugging up our ports and our landfills every single day. and it's not cost effective to burn them down. It takes 1,000 times more energy to burn a container or to repurpose it than it would be to upcycle it into housing. So, the cool thing about this is by the time we get done, all we're simply doing is we're replacing the lumber that a stick-built house or a commercial or a residential building would be made out of with a retired shipping container. So we go in, it doesn't limit the size of walls or rooms. It's really just a Lego. It's a way to construct, and using your imagination, you can literally build anything out of them. And great for the environment. We're saving gobs and gobs of trees. That's the really great thing. And again, it's cheaper for China, for example, to build new containers and ship them over here as opposed to sending the empty containers that we have a surplus of back over there. Right now, there's over 1 million containers just laying idle here in the United States alone.
A million? That is absolutely unbelievable. I worked for a company years ago in Los Angeles. We were a consumer products company, and we imported goods from China. And we had a trailer with one of those big containers parked in our yard. Now, the yard was fenced off, and it was locked. And we came in one morning. The lock on the gate had been cut. The gate was open. The trailer was gone, and the container was gone. And so, of course, we called the police. And it was an astounding statistic, but the police told us there was something like 2,000 of those containers stolen every year in the United States. So how can you steal something that's 40 feet long, 8 feet wide, and what is it, 8 feet high? How can you steal something like that? Where would you hide it?
I think because people think there's really lots of good things inside of them, all they do is they just bring a trailer, they hoist it up, and it's simple as that. So it does not surprise me at all. It does not surprise me.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I want to... the other thought that I had immediately about this was my next door neighbor just had to tent his house because he's got a stick-built house and it's falling apart because of the termites. And I'm wondering, why do we build houses out of termite food? In effect, what we're doing, it would be like building a house for a cow and making it out of hay. But we build houses and we make them out of termite food. And then we're spending tons and tons of money. Wouldn't it be better to make them out of steel? I mean, just thinking in general, that seems to make a lot of sense.
Well, there's so many awesome things about that statement. Yeah, wood is like a buffet line for our termites. But when we also get into California, you're looking at earthquakes. These meet and exceed the code for earthquake resistance. What will happen is that the building will shake, but it's not going to fall down. It's really amazing because also on the East Coast, where you've got your hurricanes, and in the Midwest, you've got your tornadoes. The awesome piece about this and living in a steel-constructed building is that it's not going to be destroyed by a big truck or a tree that hits it. Now, it's going to be dented, absolutely. So it'll be dented, but you can repair the dents. The wood is not going to get all fostered with mold and mildew when it floods. You remove the drywall if you have drywall on there. Some people kind of like the steel look on the inside, but you'll have to replace some of the materials. But what we like to say is that your bones are good inside these homes. Again, we're building so much stronger and far more durable, especially in these areas of the United States and, for that matter, around the world that have so many disasters. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and I've got a story to tell about that, but we've got about a minute and a half left in this segment, and I'm going to save my story until the next segment. So just very quickly, update the audience. I'm speaking with Leslie Horn. She's the CEO. Her company is 3 Squared Inc. They are basically taking those steel shipping containers that come over on those ships from China, and turning those steel containers into usable buildings, including housing and commercial buildings. And I want to talk a lot more about that. But Leslie, just if somebody is interested, either perhaps as somebody who's got a construction project or thinking about doing some housing, or perhaps maybe somebody who's got a little bit of capital and like to help you finance your company, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Well, there's two ways. Number one, you can go online, www.3squaredinc, all spelled out, THREE squared, INC.com, or you can reach us on our toll-free number, 877-297-2572.
That's fabulous. And I presume if they go to the website, there's pictures and things like that of some of the projects and things you've built.
It's pretty exciting stuff. Yes, there is.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it is Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. We are talking to Leslie Horn of 3 Squared Inc., and we are going to break for some commercial messages. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you just joined us, you missed the first part of the show. We are talking to Leslie Horn today. She is with 3 Squared Inc., and Leslie is in the business of constructing buildings using used shipping containers. Yes, those big, huge steel shipping containers that you see on the back of those ships coming over from China. And again, Leslie, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I think one of the concerns people might have is, what if nasty stuff was shipped in this container? Is there nasty stuff shipped in containers, or is it all pretty much clean?
Well, the ones we use are clean, and there are a lot of standards in the shipping industry. Containers have to be made the same exact way with the same amount of steel and up to the of a centimeter in lengths and heights and things of that sort. So everything has to be very standard. The other key is that if there is anything that's hazardous, it's not like it's set in the middle of a container, not strapped down or anything. But aside from all of that, there are hazardous things that get shipped in containers. I'd like to make it really clear we do not use those containers.
Oh,
so we use containers that have, we certify them that there's no toxins, no toxic materials, and there's been no lead, not even in the spray paint or the coatings of the container itself.
So let's say you decide to build a building out of these containers. Like each one of these containers is about the same size. What, they're about 40 feet long?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
Does that mean everybody's house has to be 40 feet long?
No, we're right now bidding out a project in Philadelphia that's 60 feet long. And what we've done there is we've just added a 20-foot container on the back end of a 40-foot. So containers, the most standard size is 40 feet, but they do come in a smaller size, of 20 and in 10. And the most standard the width of them is 8 feet. Now, what's interesting about that is that you can have, let's say you've got a parcel of land, and just for simplicity, the lot size is 50 by 50. So you've got a 50-foot long and a 50-foot wide parcel of land. You can literally you can have two options here. You can set 5 containers in a row together, and then you can cut out and carve out all the interior steel. And now you've got a 40 by 40-foot, frame area to work in. You can go in and frame out different size rooms. And then the other option is you don't have to put containers in the middle. So you can put a 40-foot on one end and a 40 on the other. You can kind of put them in different angles. It really is, we talk about this on our website. You bring your imagination and we'll supply the container. It's like almost, it's a, bring your creativity. But you're not locked into the 40-foot or 8 feet, width and length.
Okay, so what about a two-story building? Can I stack containers one on top of the other to make a two-story building?
Yeah, we have the engineering right now to go 12 high. Once a project comes in that requires us to do engineering over 12 high, we can do that too. But you'll remember these are actually built to be stacked on a ship up to 9 high with straps, just being strapped down, and also containing up to 60,000 pounds. That's what they're built for.
Okay, so structurally, these things are extremely strong.
Oh, they are. They're extremely strong.
That's just amazing. I guess my only question would be, well, it's not my only question. I can ask an awful lot of questions, but one of my questions would be, well, why isn't this taking off like fire? Or maybe it is taking off like fire, and I just don't know about it.
You know, my brother and I started talking about this, and we had a lot of media surrounding this in like 2007, 8, and 9. Of course, during the worst crunch time of any type of new construction. And, you know, we were building a condominium project, so that never went off. We got the building approved. But what we've noticed over the last decade is that here in the United States, it is becoming more and more common. You know, in Europe, they've been doing this for at least 20 years, and it's very common construction. We just haven't, you know, the way that construction is done in the United States right now, it's an industry that really has not changed in 100 years. And it's, you know, been a challenge just to get projects to be energy efficient, let alone changing a whole methodology of construction. So there's a lot of nuances involved. It's brand new education, and it takes a lot of experience and I think a lot of engineering in order to get into this. So, part of it is just really shifting the way we build here in America. And I'll hush after this next statement so you can ask another question. But this is one of the pieces I say all the time. You know, we can fly people to the moon, and we can actually bring them back safely. But in America, we've not developed systems to where we can build a house that's going to last typically longer than its mortgage and be affordable to the public. And that's a huge issue. We're here to help solve that problem.
That is such an excellent point, and we'll talk more about that. I want to tell my story about my German friend that I met a number of years ago who bought a lot down in Florida on the coast, you know, hurricane territory, and he built his house the way a German would build a house back in Germany. He built it out of stone and brick and concrete. And he was there when they had one of those really bad hurricanes. And, of course, they evacuated everybody from the community. And when they came back, his was the only house standing on the entire block. All of the stick houses had blown away in the wind, and his house, built of concrete and stone, was still there just fine. Well, you're not a concrete and stone solution, but you're a steel solution. And I can just imagine, why aren't we doing this in these places where these houses, you see them all, every time we have a hurricane, blocks and blocks of houses just flattened. Why aren't we using these steel containers? It's like it's just so much common sense. I can't believe we're not doing it.
Yeah, you know, the building codes are shifting. You know, we're having to create building codes, unfortunately, to get them passed, because you don't open up a code book that says for a fire assembly you use 14-gauge corrugated steel with this, and this. I mean, just it's crazy, but we're making it happen and we're making it work.
Uh-huh. Well, to me, it just sounds like a great idea. I'm wondering, and this is a bit of a stretch. I've got a house. I've been thinking about adding some square footage. Could you plop in one of those containers like right next to my house, and could that be my addition? Would that be feasible?
Yeah, it is feasible, and we've already done it. We've been able to blend in cargo architecture, which is the containers, and making them into a house or some type of commercial construction. And we've been able to blend it into a traditional stick-built staircase or a house or what have you, but it absolutely can be done.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Okay, so I am speaking with Leslie Horn. She is the CEO of 3 Squared Inc. Again, Leslie, what's your website and contact information?
Yep, 3 Squared Inc. www, all spelled out, 3 Squared Inc. And our phone number, .com, I should say, and our phone number is area code 877-297-2572.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left in this segment, so let's talk about cost. If I contract or if I wanted a building built Do you buy the containers for me? Where do you get them from, and how much does a container cost?
So it's typical to any type of new construction approach. So we like to source containers locally. The cost of transporting them we don't need to pay for additionally. So we try and source them as close to where the new build is at. The cost in working with this, we factor in traditional normal cost as any other construction. If you're building a house, what I'm going to say is that your costs are going to run about the same as a traditional stick-built house, except we're building a house that is far more energy efficient, and it's going to be built in less than half the time. Those are the two advantages right now. We're getting into some economy of scale, and if we are, and we can talk about this in the next segment, not that I'm trying to get your agenda going, but there are ways of bringing the costs down, and that's over time and economy of scale.
This is such an interesting subject, and I really, really like the whole concept, particularly with, I guess, I think people are becoming much more conscious of the environment as well. And as you mentioned earlier, that not only are you saving trees, and of course we want to save our forests, but at the same time, you're getting rid of what really has become a waste product, all of these used containers that are sitting around doing nothing. Anyway, we're going to talk more about that in our next segment. We're closing in on commercial time. It is Mike Manahan, your host, Biz Rap Radio, and we will be right back. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for sticking with us. If you just joined us, we've been talking on the show today to Leslie Horn. She is the CEO of 3 Squared Inc., and 3 Squared Inc. is in the business of creating or I guess constructing buildings, residential and commercial buildings, using those huge shipping containers. That's right, those big 40-foot steel shipping containers that come over here on those ships from China. Apparently, and Leslie, again, thank you for being with the show, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did you say there was 1 million of those are surplus sitting here in the United States?
Yes, there is. And it's interesting because you'll go to a city like Phoenix, Arizona, where there's no water. However, they have an abundance of them. And it's because after they come off the boats and off the ships and exports, Phoenix has a lot of things that they need to live on, so things get exported there, and they don't have a lot of reverse exportation. So they're not, they're importing a lot but not exporting anything.
Gotcha.
Or very little.
So they find some vacant lot and they just stack them up there, and there they stay, I guess, is the idea.
Yep.
I can see one of the biggest challenges you have is whether it be the city or county or even state, I'm not sure how this works, but the building codes that the government bodies come up with, and the fact that they're so traditional, they're kind of tied into what they do. Are you finding a lot of resistance from the building code people, and do they have to change their codes in order to adapt to what you're doing?
Well, there is a lot of resistance, I should say, at first. But then we come in, we know what questions they're asking, we know what they're looking for, we know what codes that we have to meet very specifically. And there is a huge education component to it in each municipality. So we're finding that it just takes it takes the education piece. The codes can be shifted and changed by every municipality if they want to see it. And they all visualize that we're going to be bringing in these steel boxes. After we show them some of the versatility and flexibility of how you can clad the exterior to make it blend in to the block, then they start focusing on the code aspect. So what about your fire rating assemblies? What about if it's in earthquake areas? So we do have to address those, but we're finding it easier and easier primarily because it's becoming a little more popular now in the United States.
So, and I don't want to ask you to divulge, confidential information, but how many projects have you actually worked on where you've actually used these used steel containers?
Well, right now we are engaged in $5.5 million of new projects. It's about 12 of them, and it's about 275 containers. Now, that is in addition to our projects. We've got two perfect permit-ready projects here in Detroit, and the cool thing about that is that we've got another 200 containers on that. So, we're in Columbus, Ohio. We're in conversations now that are not in contract yet in Philadelphia and in Newark, New Jersey. So we're making our rounds right here, and people are seeing the scope and they're seeing the advantages of working with containers.
Okay, so you're well along. I mean, this is not a startup. You're an active business engaged in a lot of projects. Okay, somebody here is listening to the show in Los Angeles, and they say, "Hey, this sounds like a great idea." I guess they could be a customer of yours. That would be one option. They've got a project that they want to build and they'd like to look at your solution. But what if somebody, say, is already in the construction business, maybe is actively out there quoting customers on different buildings? Can they work with you to use your know-how and your techniques to deliver products to their customers?
It's really interesting, Mike, that you asked that question, because we are an extremely collaborative company. We want more people. We're getting so much business right now, we cannot build. We are getting to a point now where we have got to train other people, other developers, other general contractors and architects, so that we can kind of create a new movement here. But we're getting to be at capacity, and it's much easier to have collaborative effort as opposed to competitive nature of business. So, we'd love to work and collaborate and cooperate with people.
Okay, so if you're listening to this show and you're perhaps in the construction business, maybe you're, maybe a housing contractor, maybe a specialty building contractor, and you're looking to offer your customers, the people who typically come to you to get buildings built, if you're looking to offer your customers some alternative solutions, this could be a great opportunity to do something that your competitors probably are not doing. Because if you're going out there and quoting, so let's say, somebody's putting up a fast food restaurant, okay? So you're going to go out there, the guy's putting up the fast food restaurant, he or she is going to get quotes from 3 or 4 different construction companies. All of those construction companies are going to be quoting pretty much the same thing. But you could go in there and say, hey, have you thought about using these steel containers to build your fast food restaurant? There's a lot of advantages to it, and you might be able to do it for less cost and perhaps even have maybe a unique building. So if you're listening, do get a hold of Leslie. Again, it's Leslie Horn, and she is 3 Squared Inc. You can go to www.3squaredinc.com. And Leslie, once again, what's your phone number if somebody wants to contact you?
877-297-2572.
So what kind of a reaction have you got from what I would call the industry itself? We talked a little bit about regulators and people who write code, and that might be a challenge for them. But what about people like the architects, the designers, the people who are involved in creating buildings? What's been the response from those people?
Well, I'll say some of the, it can be very exciting. A lot of people think it's unique. They want to know how to do it. It does take some education, and there are some very specific nuances to cargo architecture. And what the exciting piece that we were able to do on our very first build, we were able to erect our 2,400 square foot building, 3 stories. Our very first build, we erected in 6 hours and 15 minutes. So the people driving to work one day saw a crane. When they drove home, they saw a totally erected building. ready for our trades to come in and put in windows and, rough electrical and things like that. We get a lot of great responses from people that see a new shift in housing. We still, I think, have a lot of education to do in the trades, architectural and developers. Once they see the numbers, I think it would make a big difference to them.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now, I was in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, and there's I forget what they call it, unfortunately, but there's a place...
Container Park.
Yes, Container Park, and it's a whole bunch of buildings that are built out of the containers, and that's really the first time I ever see it. I thought the place was kind of neat.
Yeah, it's exciting. And, Tony Shea from Zappos, he created that building. And he did that many years ago and was really one of the, forefront, I guess, early adapters in cargo architecture and bringing it to, a wonderful place like Las Vegas. So there's, I think, many opportunities for us to create not just residential, but some cool and hip-looking commercial projects.
So we did talk a little bit about cost, but if I had two basically identical sized buildings, and I built one out of containers and I built one out of traditional stick and sticks and concrete and wall boards and stuff like that, is the container solution less expensive?
I'm going to say yes, and let me pre-qualify it with this very, very short story. Travelodge in Europe has built at least 3 hotels, and they have vowed to build all future hotels, not so much because of sustainability, which is very grand and noble, but because of cost. Not only do they factor in that they're building in less than half the time, that's one cost savings, they're also saving on their framing costs. Those are the 2 big line items that you're saving on. But they're also in revenue that much faster, and then the energy costs on the back end. When they factor in all those items, they're saving 23 to 26% on the bottom line.
That is a lot.
So you can't look at it like an apple to apple. This is more like an apple to a hot dog. It's a food group, it's the same housing industry, but it's a different methodology of construction.
Gotcha.
But you can start saving. I mean, we know that with economy of scale, with producing more and more of these containers and putting them into larger projects, it's all about the economy of scale. You're able to buy in bulk and get things done a lot faster.
Sure.
And that does save money.
That makes sense. Okay, it's Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. I'm on with Leslie Horn, 3 Squared Inc., and we're going to be back with more on steel buildings out of containers right after these messages. Welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for being with us today. If you just joined us, if you just tuned into the show, we are speaking with Leslie Horn. She is the CEO of 3 Squared Inc., and 3 Squared Inc. is in the business of building buildings, both residential and commercial buildings, using used shipping containers. Yes, those big steel containers that go on the back of those huge freighters that come over from China, that bring all those goods over from China. Apparently there's 1 million of those containers sitting around the United States not being used. And if you take those containers and you build a building with those containers, you not only get a building that is less expensive potentially than a traditional stick-built building, but in addition to that, more energy efficient. And again, Leslie, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Happy to be here.
Well, let's talk about this energy efficiency. You've mentioned that 2 or 3 times. Why is a building that's built out of shipping containers more energy efficient than a building built out of sticks?
Well, it has to do with how we construct and how we build. We use some technologies and some trade secrets that really create an envelope, a solid energy envelope, and just actually by the steel itself being so closed in, there's some really cool ways to utilize some newer technologies and still not increase the cost of construction. And it's because we've already got the frame already set. So we utilize, of course, all your traditional low flow, systems and tankless hot water heaters and such. But we really like to use a combination of some insulative products that really have fine-tuned, I think, the energy envelope of the building.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that makes sense. So you're designing, in addition to just using the shipping containers, you're really designing into the building itself things that will make that building more energy efficient. And it just quite frankly, it just seems. I mean, logically, I would think that it would be more energy efficient, anyways, because one of the problems with a traditional stick-built house is you can't really get a house airtight. I mean,
right.
The fact is if you've got wood and plaster, the air manages to go through it. So that's definitely a good thing. Let me ask: are there any? Do you have any projects in the Los Angeles area?
Not right yet. I know we've had a couple of conversations, but right now they've just been conversations. People have to design or acquire some land for it, but we have had some early on conversations, yes.
Well, I think you should be contacting the city of Los Angeles because they just put together a whole pile of money to build housing for, all of the homeless people. At least I think that's what they're building the housing for, the homeless people and what have you, and maybe there's a way you could get in on a contract there. Hey, you know what you probably should do? If you got some spare cash, make a contribution to Hillary Clinton's foundation, and you'll probably get a whole bunch of government contracts.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, that's awesome.
But speaking of money, you're actually trying to raise some money. You're looking for investors. Can you talk a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish there?
Yeah, we've already had 2 rounds of funding that are complete. This is our very first year of revenue. We're very, very excited about that. So we're going into another round of funding with B shares. I'm not going to talk about the details. If we've got an accredited investor that's interested in knowing more about it, I'd be thrilled to talk about the details in private, of course. But we also have a couple of debt opportunities as well. In the traditional real estate developer sense, we're looking for a couple of joint venture partners who want to be in and out of a deal at a very good rate with a very decent IRR. Because we're building so fast, the project timeframes and the investor timeframes, we're finding people are really liking it. They'll be in and out of a project in 1 year or in an investment in 1 year as opposed to, 2.5, 3 years. It's exciting because I know over the last few years we've had over 75 media placements. We were on HGTV's new pilot series, Container Homes. We have over $19 million in projects of our own in addition to our contracts. So we've established a really good, I think, foundation for super growth right now. We have a lot of trade secrets. We've got a 690-page intellectual property manual. We've got the IP that we've created has been very smart in how we put these things together. So we're making ourselves unique, and we also have a lot of real estate assets. So it's a good time for investors, I believe, to have this conversation right now. But we have 2 or 3 different ways. One is completely equity, all equity driven, get a piece of the company. It's a good time for that. And then we also have some alternatives, a debt. And then we also have a hybrid where people don't want to take the whole risk of an equity partner, but they can certainly invest in a debt position, and we've offered them a way to convert it to equity down the road. So we've got some exciting and I think some innovative ways to match our housing construction methodologies in the investment world.
It sounds really exciting, and of course the best time to get in on any business and kind of any breaking new industry or new industry trends is get in at the early stages before it's become commonplace. What's the competitive landscape look like, Leslie? A lot of other companies doing this?
No, there's not a lot of other companies. There are 1 or 2. And, they do okay. They do fine. But what I'm finding is nobody's attacking this industry as a whole. You've got some designers that like to build with containers, but there's nobody out there that's attacking and wanting to be 100% container cargo architecture driven. And that's us. I mean, we've got some great stamina. We've got, again, some great intellectual property, and we're on a trajectory right now to be a very exciting and a very profitable company. You know, our goal here is in the next 5 years is just to increase our landscape. We've been on a trajectory to expand locally here in the city of Detroit. We can check that off our market. We're expanding in other cities. So our horizontal and vertical expansion plans have totally done that. And we're just increasing our revenue stream right now. We want to roll up and either exit with a a play in the going out to market, or we want to stay. Oh my gosh!
Well, I think you've got a lot of
options on that place to exit and roll. But we think that some of the best parts are to truly to stay in and expand what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just to make as much money as possible. It's a very profitable business, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah. Well, and look at we're going to need buildings. We've got a growing population. You've got old buildings that need to be replaced. You've got new buildings that need to be constructed. And quite frankly, in fact, I was talking to last week a gentleman who was doing tax liens, and he was telling me there is actually something like 100 million parcels of land in the United States on which people are paying taxes. Most of those have buildings on them. So the market is really substantial. You only need to capture a small percentage of that market to be an extremely profitable and successful company. Look, Leslie, we're closing in towards the end of the show. Let's give out our contact information once again. If you are somebody who needs a building built, if you are a builder who's looking for new options and opportunities to offer something different to your customers, or if you're a financial source, if you're looking to make an investment or you're a lender of some sort, you want to be talking to Leslie and learning more about this very dynamic company. It's Leslie Horn. She's the CEO of 3 Squared Inc. You can contact her on their website, 3squaredinc.com. or 877-297-2572. Leslie, once again, thanks very much for being with us today. Here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. That's it for this week. We'll be back again next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.